Edward Cullen is a perfectly curated Instagram page that we love to make fun of on TikTok because he is not very authentic. But it's really not his fault. He is a product of the society that created him. All vampires are. Take Dracula. Stoker modeled Dracula off of his real-life mentor, Henry Irving, who he found unsettlingly attractive, and Dracula reflects Victorian fears of sexuality, foreign influence, and repressed desires. Then there's Nosferatu, who was born from the horrors of post-World War I Europe. He's grotesque, he's rat-like. He is a symbol of decay and disease and societal collapse at a time when syphilis was on the rise. He is not a romantic figure. He is a terrifying reflection of the fears of death at that time and the rise of fascism. Dracula is recreated for a 1992 film, but yet again, the vampire evolves to the society that creates it. So in that film, vampirism becomes a metaphor for AIDS, where blood and contagion taps into the fear of the AIDS crisis, how society was terrified of bodily suffering and social stigma. Anne Rice's Interview with a Vampire explored themes of gender fluidity and sexuality, which challenged norms in the late 20th century. Her vampires were all about identity crisis and challenging traditional roles. And then we have Edward Cullen, our sparkly 21st century vampire. In a post 9/11 media driven world, he is the embodiment of a curated life. He is perfect, polished, and he is not making mistakes in public. He is the analogy of the golden age of Instagram, where everything was about self-control and image. Edward's self-control is not just about not drinking Bella's blood, even though he is a product of the early 2000s cultural emphasis on abstinence and purity. He has to control how he is perceived by everyone, which is exactly what we were doing back then when we were photoshopping every flaw out of every image and only showing the best versions of ourselves. And that is why we cannot take him seriously on TikTok today, because he represents a time in society that we don't value anymore. He is about loss of control and this pursuit of perfection where we value authenticity. And so the next time you're making fun of that broody vampire, just know he was a product of his time. And that time hopefully has passed and is not coming back around.